So hello there, welcome to issue 2 of Warhammer Stormbringer. Stormbringer, not Stormbringer, sorry, it's me, my hay fever. So in this episode we are going to just build, and we're going to be building 10 Orruk Gutrippaz. God, the names are funny. Okay, so this is the magazine, and what we get with the magazine, I'll go through it again later on. We get this nice big sprue of models, and we also get 10 bases. Now, I did mention bases before. It tells you sort of kind of the strength of the model. See, these two are much different sizes. This is just, he could probably kill, this one could kill him in just one attack. You would need many of these to attack him and win. Now, we haven't even built these models, and we look at the base size, so we can see this is perhaps pushing more an elite unit. This is just your cannon fodder, so that's nice. So let's have a look. Now, I did say in the last issue I didn't know what was coming in the next issue. It's actually written quite plainly on the back page. Whether they'll continue this format, I don't know, but it says there 10 Gutrippaz, and then issue 3 is 5 Vindicators, and then obviously when we look at this magazine we'll know what's coming in 3 and 4. So front cover, so we're obviously having a focus on the orcs, and then we go into the mortal realms. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but obviously each week this will give you a little bit more knowledge about the Warhammer world. So this is about the Grand Alliance of Order. This is a little bit about the Grand Alliance of Destruction. I believe there's 4 alliances in total. Order, Destruction, Chaos, and I forget the is it no, I can't remember, is it Death or something like that. Right, then we've got a little bit more on the Gutrippaz, and then this is nice. I did see this in the first issue. This is a naming chart. Now Warhammer does this kind of thing. They have done it for a while, and I can relate to this. When you have certain characters, I like to give them a name, and then you build their story up. So what you have here, you roll a dice, you roll 2 dice, and where the 2 dice corresponds, it gives you a name. So let's roll for the bottom column. We've got 1, and then we'll roll for the top column, which is a 2, and I've come up with the name of Shiv. And then you can name another one, 1 and 1, so that's Orruk, and then we'll do a third one, 6 and 3. This one comes out at Porgo. Obviously if you get duplicates, you re-roll. So then we have the how to build the Cruel Boys Gutrippaz, which is what we're going to be building today, and there's 10 individual sets of instructions. So when I come to build, I'll build the first one in a as live format, and then I'll just speed up the building of the rest. And then with the basics, it now goes into armor saves. Now my understanding of armor saves is, first of all you roll to see if you've hit, then you roll to see if you've damaged them if you hit them, and then if you damage them, the opposition then gets a chance to do an armor save. Now what's quite typical is that perhaps they do an armor save on a 5 or 6. So let's say someone's done a lethal blow on my character. He has an armor save. He needs a 5 or 6 and 6. So he's actually not done any damage. So in that case, my hero lives to fight another battle. So Now we introduce moving and fighting and dying. So now we've taken the game to another step where you deploy and then you move and then you attack. So it's quite nice that they're introducing things at a basic level and then they're just introducing a bit more. So there's a bit more about the subscription offer. That's the whole collection. And then coming in issue 3, 5 Vindicators, which is quite fair because after issue 1 this is what the two sides look like, 2 on 1, and I think that's possibly quite a fair fight. But after this issue the battle is going to look something like this. I mean, that's not a realistic battle because when you play the game all your models are allocated points, so the stronger the character the more points he's worth. And I can't lift these bases off the table because where they're shaped at an angle I can't get a purchase on them. So there we go. So for example, he might be worth 100 points, he might be worth 80 points, and he's worth 20. So 100 versus 100, that's considered a fair fight. Now if these are worth 30 points each, that's another 300 points on the table. So as you can see, just looking at the bases, that's not a fair fight. So next week we'll introduce five Vindicators. Now I believe Vindicators are quite tough, so that will even the sides up a little bit. That will even the fight. And then in issue 4 there will probably be no building. We've got 4 paints and a brush, so you can see how they're building this up quite nicely. We've only dealt with building, and then we're going to be introducing some paint, and then they might introduce some more models, and they might introduce some more colours, and so on and so forth. Right, so let's crack on with some building. So I'm going to keep I have actually filed the previous issue and I'm not sure if I've done it properly. I like to keep the cover pages so they go in the front, and then under the read section I've got all the basic stuff like this, and then also a little bit about, because I do think that goes in there, because that Mortal Realms, Order, Destruction, Armies, Guides. And then you've got in the collect section we've got a little bit about the armies, and this is a nice little pull out section, and then the instructions on building goes into this section. So as you see, this is what we built last week, and then we have a section on here on painting, which there isn't a lot at the moment, and then all the rules on how to play goes in the back, which is something that I'm not dealing with quite so much. So let's have a look at these models. We'll build one and I'll explain what I'm doing while I'm building it, and then I'll just do did you like the music I used last week? I'm thinking about using that in all of them. Now I reduced it down to 2 minutes to build 2 models, so I might see how that goes. 9 models, 9 models. I might want to play the music say 2 or 3 times, so or I might just find some more music. There's a really good piece of track, one of my favourites. It's called Angry Marines, but it's nothing to do with Age of Sigmar. It's actually a Warhammer 40k, but it is a lovely piece. Right, so the first one we're doing, oddly enough, they're not starting from number 1. Let's see where number 1 is. Number 1 is actually the last one, but we will do this one. No, I tell you what, let's do the last one first, because the last one is a boss. Now I said last week that these are like the sergeants. They're actually not. These are like the privates and the corporals. Well, these are like the privates. Then you'll get a boss that sits within that army. He's more of a corporal or a sergeant, and then perhaps these ones are more like the equivalent of a sergeant. These are like the SAS, and then these are more like your officers, if that kind of helps. Maybe not. Right, so let's do the boss first. So we want 1, 2 and 4, oddly enough. So there's 2. I can't find 1. 1, 2 and 4. Number 1. Number 1 is a body piece. I can see number 10, 23, 49, 40, 31. Please don't tell me there is no number 1. Right, so number 1 is definitely a body. So we're just looking at the body piece. There's number 1. So as I've just found him, you know, I've just lost my clippers. There we are. I've just found him, let's cut him out first. You'll probably find these more rank and file type ones are less pieces. Don't know if you noticed last week, this was quite a few pieces, whereas this was only sort of 3 or 4. And I think that's how it's going to go. They don't put so much effort and detail into the little rank and file troops, and that's reflected in the price. A unit of say 10 or 12 of these might be 10 or 15 pounds, whereas that's weird. Yeah, whereas one of these might be say 15 pounds on its own. But as you can see, the detail on that is so much greater, and that's obviously what you're paying for. 1, 2, 4. Right, 4 I believe was up here. And again, these are going to be push fits, which you can always adapt. You can glue them in if you want. It's up to you. I'm just going to take these at a basic level. And while we've got the clippers in our hands, let's do piece number 5 and number 6, which will finish the model off. But we will just put those pieces to one side for when we need them. Is that 9? Yeah, I nearly cut piece number 9 off when I actually wanted 6. But that's an easy mistake to make, isn't it? Right, so we've got our pieces. And we just check for quality. That's okay. I think I've cut those off really well. Sometimes we won't tell any mistakes we've made until we actually start to put it together. Once we put it together, there we go. There's a little bit that I've missed. So I'll just give that a little tiny sand, and you'll never know there was a problem, that there was a mess. Okay. Don't know if I've already done this one, and this one. There we go. I think I'll use my seam line remover for that. If you had a knife, that would probably do a slightly better job, but I'm trying to use just the equipment they've given us. There will be an exception which you will discover in issue 4. But I'll go on about that later on. It's just I'm going to use my own stuff for something, but it's nothing major. Right, so piece number 1, piece number 2. How is that going in? Right. Okay, that's going in the middle arm. A middle hole, like so. That's going to form his back of his arm. That's quite a good fit actually. And then piece number 4 goes over the top. There's 3 locating lugs. 1, 2 and 3. It's actually a hole. That's interesting. So let's line him up with his foot first. Then we'll find the mid. No, let's line him up with the middle lug first. Right, middle lug. Doesn't want to know. Some of these are actually going in at an angle. There we go. That's just snapped into place. So that's piece 1, 2 and 4. And then 5 goes over the top, plugs into there. It's not a good fit. It's not a good fit because I've missed a little tiny nub. No, I haven't. Right. So let's have another play. There we go. I just didn't get it in properly. So that's going to sit on there. That's not very secure. But the next piece to go on top is going to push all of that in. I think. Oh, I've got him upside down. Look. No wonder it didn't fit. Heads fit better when they're the right way round. Right, so that has to be pushed in quite deep. That's not going to fit. It feels like this peg isn't quite long enough. So, no, that's gone in. That's not really tight. So, I'm going to suggest that we... No, that's okay actually. Right, so you might like to put a little bit of glue on there. That's fine if you do. We have this piece. It's not connected properly at the bottom. Right, so then we'll finish him off by putting him in the base. And you see these particular bases have a single hole in them, and they have a single mark, a single nub. And all I'm going to do is just position him so he's fully on the base. So that is one figure done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do all of the other 9, and we'll put a nice piece of music on, and I will see you shortly, guys. Okay, so something odd has happened. I don't know what it is. Obviously this is the number 10. Oh, okay, right. So I've actually got quite a few spare parts. But it does say, and I just saw this as I said it, there are some spare pieces left on the sprue. Clip these out and put them in a box for now. You can use spare parts like these to decorate other models you build in the future, of course. So this piece here, we've got an arm and a spare. We could cut that down a little bit and we could lay it on a base. It just makes it look like battle damage. Right, so a couple of things that I did without explaining because I kind of need to do it as I went. You've got this glue here. It didn't work for me. The nozzle fell out. There's glue already in the nozzle which has dried, and I really didn't like it. So I ended up going back to my two favourite glues, which is Tamiya Cement and Tamiya Extra Thin. Now, the way I use these is if I need to put two pieces together and then bring them together, I'll use the normal cement. It's quite slow drying, but if I can't, like if I've got a seam, I can't find one with a seam. There we go. So if I was going to close that seam, I'd hold the pieces together. I'd use the extra thin, and the extra thin will run into the gap. There were a couple of pieces where I wasn't happy. It didn't feel very strong, so I glued it. And then there was this one. This is going to have to be left overnight. I really couldn't get that peg in. So in the end I just cut the whole peg off and just glued it on. It's very soft at the moment, but that will need to cure overnight. So that being said, I cut this off as I was going because there's nothing left on that sprue. So what I'll do is I'll cut the spare pieces out. I've got two spare pieces from the last issue, and I've got some here, and I'll call it a day on that. I'm quite happy with that. So as you can see, this is the army of what are they called, destruction, and then this is the army of order. I'm so sorry guys, the camera is really terrible, the positioning of it. So this is pretty much how the battle is lining up. Not really a fair fight, is it? So next week, I do like this one. Do you have a favourite model, guys? I like this one. The fit wasn't so good. The fit on these aren't fantastic, but I am just building these at a basic level. And obviously if you spent a lot more time and effort on them, they would be better. There's nothing on this sprue at all, so I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to dispose of that, and to be honest with you, there's nothing on this sprue either, so I'm going to cut that sprue down. And I'm going to keep this on the sprue, I think. Might as well. Now I keep these sprues normally. I'm going to throw those ones away, but these come in handy for things like aircraft modelling. You can melt them down and do funny things with them. Right, so guys, that's the end of issue 2. So the next issue will be issue 3, where we will get 5 Vindicators, the Realm of Beasts and Battle Awaits. And then issue 4, your first paints. Now I'll leave you with the wonderful names that they use. Base Lead Belcher, Base Cantor Blue, Base Orruk Flesh, and Base Retributor Armour. Or put another way, green, blue, gold and silver. Take care guys. I'll see you in the next video.